Hey, everyone, and welcome to another edition of TG Talk. I am Cody Delmendo, and I'm joined as always with my co-host Jeremy Bellman. What is going on, Jeremy?
What's up, Cody? I hear you have a very tasty episode for us today.
Oh, it's very, very tasty, man. And I'm glad to be here with you to talk about it because I know me and you both love pizza. And specifically for this episode, Chicago style pizza. We got another great guest to interview and share with you guys. It's the owner of Lou Malnati's Pizzeria, Marc Malnati. He is an alum from the Indiana Gamma chapter. Great conversation Steve Mitchell had with Mark, and you know to be honest with you, before I started working here, I had no idea that Mark was an SAE. So this is interesting. I'm looking forward to sharing it with you guys. Um, Jeremy, I know you're a Cali guy, but ever since you moved to Chicago, have you dabbled in it in any of the Chicago style pizza?
Okay, see, the second you mention pizza Illuminati, my initial question was, is there pizza in the studio today? Because I just kept looking around like, oh, do we actually have that? No, but the first weekend that I moved out here, I had a fellow staff member, Seth Crawford, actually take me out to Illuminati, and he said the owner of it is an SAE. I'm like, no way.
Wow.
So I got the deep dish pepperoni, and oh my gosh, what a fantastic introduction to Chicago. Like my first weekend that I moved out here, fantastic welcome. Like that's exactly what I needed after the 4-hour plane ride from California.
Right. And you came in like, springtime, correct? So like you didn't get the face of winter that you've had to experience this last couple months. But, you know, when you think of Chicago, if you're not from Chicago, but when you think about it and you think about the things that like people love here, Chicago style pizza might be the number one thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
like summertime in Chicago and pizza or
Mm-hmm.
hot dogs or popcorn, but pizza is probably right up there. People in Chicago will fight people in New York over the debate over which style pizza is better. I'm one of those people. I'm from Illinois. I will fight with people over this.
Yes, but you just said that they're different style pizzas, though. You can't compare Chicago deep dish with New York thin crust or Jersey Sicilian.
That's true. But I will say I have had Lou Malnati's thin crust and it bangs. Like it is one of the best pizzas that I have ever had. It is great. I will die on that hill, Jeremy. I will die on it, man.
Oh my gosh, if this is as good as you said, then I gotta try this before I die now. Okay, now I just have one question for you. Obviously, I'm not from here, but as a native to this land, Cody, do you eat deep dish by hand or with a fork and knife?
Um, you know, I have a girlfriend and we have a table that we sit at and eat at. Like I try to be a polite,
True gentleman.
TG, yes, I try to be a TG, man. So I always eat with a fork because this isn't just thick crust. This is a big pizza. People like the naysayers on deep dish call it like a lasagna or like a pie or something.
Or a
And
casserole.
or casserole, yeah. And like I honestly that's slander that I don't want to hear. So at the same time though, it is easier to eat with a fork. So if there's one knock against deep dish pizza, it's that because it's so big, it is easier to eat with the fork. But it tastes so good though. It tastes
Hmm.
so good.
See, I've had my roommate order Illuminati's for dinner sometimes. I just see him use his hand, and it's like he has a
Really.
big slice in his hand. It's like a slice of cake. I'm like, oh my gosh, how can you do that?
But I think we've bantered enough about the pizza around this country, Jeremy.
Uh huh.
This episode it truly focuses on people and relationships. So we decided to name it emotional intelligence because of Mark's firm belief in the importance of learning more about yourself and how you interact with others. He attributes his success and to these lessons that you're going to learn about here in this episode, as well as surrounding himself with good people and good people means positive vibes. We need positive vibes. I don't know how else to really say it, Jeremy.
Nothing but good vibes in life, Cody. I 100% agree. And, you know, as someone who ended up joining SAE strictly by chance, but we'll talk more about that later, Mark really values the relationships that he made with all his fellow brothers and always encourages all the current undergraduate young members not to take their time in school for granted, because something that we learned is that one of his favorite SAE memories is just the relationships that he made during his time as an undergrad, which, you know, follows a common theme that we have noticed among a lot of alumni when asked this question. So yeah, no, I agree. I really hope you enjoy this very thoughtful conversation between chapter brothers Mark and Steve.
You couldn't have said it better, Jeremy.
Come sing to Sigma Alpha Epsilon, Epsilon, Sigma Alpha Epsilon, Sigma Alpha, 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 Sigma Alpha Epsilon, Sigma Alpha, 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 Sigma Alpha.
All right. Well, I just want to start by thanking you for agreeing to spend time with us and share your thoughts today. It's really an honor and a privilege to be able to draw insights from your experiences. As we were developing this initiative, our goal was to highlight some of the SAEs that we could all be proud of. In preparation for this discussion, I did a little research. And by research, I mean I had a pie on Sunday night, as well as a cookie and a salad and a thin crust. And also, I called some of your fraternity brothers, and they all said the same thing. Couldn't find a nicer guy. He's a great brother. He's humble. He's genuine, and he's really a genuine. And on top of all that, you've managed to be ultra successful at what you do. So, if you don't mind, can you just tell the brothers a little bit about yourself?
Okay. Well, good to be with you, Steve. I've lived in Chicago all my life, except for the few years that I was in Bloomington. Married my college sweetheart. Now, she was my college sweetheart. She didn't know it at the time, but we did get married right after she got out of school. Jeanne Murphy, she was at Delta Gamma right down the street. We have 3 kids, all married now, and 4.5 grandchildren.
Wow.
We all live within 6 blocks of one another.
That's awesome.
And we have a son who's out in New York that we keep trying to get to come to Chicago. But all in all, lived a pretty charmed life.
How often do you get out to New York?
Not often enough, but you know, since COVID, he hasn't really been there either. He's been.
Is he back home?
He's been home, but he's been in different places around the country just trying to outrun COVID.
I have 2 daughters, and they're in the same boat. And my oldest is actually in the other room right now. She's an attorney in New York, and she's actually in conference at the table in the other room.
Hmm.
So I know the feeling.
Yeah.
So you grew up in Chicago, and then went down to Indiana.
Exactly. You know, I was the first one out of our family to ever go to college. I mean, in our extended family, my parents never went, or any of their grandparents. So it was a big deal for me to go to IU, to graduate, and you know, kind of a immigrant family. My dad grew up in Italy till he was 17, and then came over. My mom was here. But of, you know, modest descent. She's German, and you know, we've always just been in Chicago.
And your father worked at a deep dish pizza early on, right? One of the first ones. Did I read that properly?
Yeah, he worked with my grandfather at Pizzeria Uno and Pizzeria Due downtown. They were sort of the mecca of Chicago pan pizza. At least they were.
They were.
And then my dad left there in 1970 and went on his own starting in 71. So we'll celebrate the 50th year anniversary of Malnati's coming up in just a couple months.
That's great. Are you gonna do something special for it?
Can you do anything special for anything right now? I mean, I guess we'll have an internal Zoom celebration. Yeah, we'll probably offer some kind of opportunity for all of our local fans to participate in something.
So you went to Indiana and you were the first one. So what drew you to SAE?
It's sort of a crazy story. I just got a little card in the mail inviting me down to be there for a weekend, and I went down and I met a couple of guys that really treated me well. One guy from Chicago and a couple of guys from Valpo, and they were good to me. And being the first guy ever to go to college, my parents weren't really involved. They didn't know what to do, and so they didn't really do anything. They didn't help me with admissions and so I was about 3 weeks away from starting school, and I hadn't filled out any kind of dorm contract. And so I called these guys back and I said, hey, remember you asked me if I would like to have a bid? Does that mean live there? And they said, yeah, it'd be great. And I said, well, can I move in 3 weeks when you come down? And that's how I got there.
So what's one of your fondest memories of being an SAE, either as an undergrad or a graduate?
Yeah, I think my memories are just the ongoing relationships and the ability to get together with guys that I haven't seen for years and just kind of tell the stories again, embellish them. They become bigger and bigger as time goes on, and funnier. Those are stories for the ages, and I mean, you can't replicate that anywhere. And it makes us, it makes me feel like it happened yesterday, and it created a bond that is unbreakable. And I think that that made those fraternity years so special, and they've continued to be special.
So Mark, you've had a lot of success. I mean, when you started, there weren't a lot of stores, locations, and now you have 65 locations. So it gives you all sorts of opportunities and challenges as a leader to try to overcome. So what do you attribute your success to?
I think, being committed to something, hard work, and certainly a little luck. When I got out of school, the year I got out of school, my dad passed away. And that, before he passed away, he had passed on this tradition of making the absolute best pizza on the planet. And we had a couple stores. We had a couple stores in Chicago. He had opened a third one my senior year at IU, and that store was just doing terrible. It was not going well at all. It was a bad location. It was a long way from the others, and we had our travails with that. But maybe we'll talk about that later. In the meantime, I think just committing to a vision of excellence and surrounding myself with good people, that has really been the key to success. We're in a people business, and to the degree that we have people who share the same values and want to come to work every day, want to get up, be excited about it, and treat the business as if it's their own, we have been able to be successful. So I think the ability to kind of grow that circle, to kind of hold space for our leaders to become even more than they believe they could actually be, and to hold that space for them while they kind of grew into what I saw in them, what I saw their potential to be. I think that, that's really been the main key being successful, just a willingness to believe in others and trust others, and to push ourselves to hold on to the belief that we could really do something well and make it better and better all the time.
That's awesome. I read that you opened a store on the South Side, and the intent was to plow all of the profits and proceeds that were available that you could back into the community. And what prompted that? And was it is it still a successful store?
Well, that's another great story. We had 9 stores, and a pastor friend of my brother's approached him and said, you know, there's an old biblical principle about around tithing,
Right.
around giving 10% of, you know, what you have back to the church and you know, for the good of the community. And he said, you have 9 stores. What would you think about opening your 10th in North Lawndale, which is one of the most, you know, underserved and under-resourced areas of Chicago? And you know, he said, we have a space, you could come in rent free, but our community needs hope, and we need someone to kind of serve as a lighthouse, and someone to, you know, open a restaurant where we can have business meetings, where kids can come in and have birthday parties, and we don't have anything like that right now, because this was one of the areas that had been burned out at the end of the 60s when the Democratic Convention turned the city upside down, and it still had not come back. And it was 25 years ago, actually, so it was 1995. And they had 25 years at that point of misery in that area, business from a, you know, building business standpoint. And so we agreed. You know, I mean, I think anytime somebody throws the God card at you, you know, you need to
hard.
do this. You know, you're in, right?
Right.
And so, you know,
Right.
We're believers. We joined. We wanted to support the cause, and so we opened a store there and pledged to give all of our profits back to the community, and, you know, support kids' educational and recreational activities, and really thought we would, you know, continue our record of doing well wherever we went. Well, that was not the case. It took about 12 years of investing both in our people and, you know, in the community, keeping it going, and pulling, you know, profits out of some of the other stores to get it to move into the area of profitability. But you know, it's going okay now. It's going pretty well. You know, I remember that first year when we turned a profit, we made like, you know, $78 for the, you know, but you know, it's been better now. And
It's a good thing it was rent free.
you know, right.
So we've got a lot of younger brothers that are getting ready to graduate, you know, coming up in May. So what do you wish that you could share with them that you wish you had known at their age that you know now? What's some wisdom you'd like to give them?
Wisdom. You know, I think, well, outside of the fact that I could have spent more time in class, it would have supported me educationally. I think that you know, if you have an opportunity to really develop your emotional intelligence, not just your IQ, but your EQ, and to invest in your ability to be in relationship with other people, to invest in learning, you know, what it takes to share and to receive feedback as a growth vehicle, as a way of becoming better and pushing others around you to be better. You know, I think just getting the ability to see myself more clearly, to be more curious versus needing to be right, to learn to take 100% responsibility earlier versus, kind of living at the effect of others or other things. I think if I had learned those lessons earlier in my life, things would have been a little simpler. Because those have been so important in business. I said we're a people business, and to learn about myself and how I come off in relationship with other people, at home and at work, wherever I am, those lessons have been absolutely critical.
That's great. So what's a mistake that you made, Marc, that you learned something from?
I've made a lot of mistakes.
But successful people make a lot of mistakes. And I think that's, a lot of people think that if you're successful, it means you didn't make many mistakes. When in reality, what I have found is the most successful people made a lot of mistakes. The difference being they actually learned from them and didn't have to repeat them over and over and over.
Yeah, well, I've repeated some, but I'd say, I guess you're asking me business-wise, what mistakes I made. I made a mistake the other day, thinking a policeman hadn't seen me speeding past him, and that was a mistake.
But think both ways.
Because surely he did see me and did follow me and find me.
Personally or professionally? How about both? Well, those kinds of, because I think it's important for people to learn from your personal position too. I mean, as you talked about your growth, I mean, what kind of mistakes there potentially? I thought it was interesting. You said it's better to get it right than to be right. And someone said that to me a long time ago is, you want to be happy or do you want to be right? And that was, to me, it clicked a button. It was because I felt when I was younger, I always felt like you had to be right, when in reality, that's not necessarily the case. Right. The same thing with you?
Yeah, I think that for a long time being right was paramount, and winning, I'm a competitive guy, and winning was, absolutely the only thing that was acceptable. And, in negotiations, I'd go in and, I'd need to come out feeling like I had the advantage. I had won it. And when you win a negotiation, it's likely that the other person feels like they lost, and there's a level of resentment there that sometimes just can grow. And I've learned that going for a win-win is so much better. And because most of the time when I'm in negotiation with someone, it's with a landlord these days, and I'm in relationship with them for a long time. And there's times when I'm going to need some things from them. And if they remember that, I had to beat them, right. Or if I was unreasonable, then it can come back to haunt me. But if I hold it differently, we work together much better down the road. So that's been an important lesson. A mistake we made was we thought early on that, we had so much success at outdoor festivals. When we were kids, when we were young, and we were struggling. We'd had, I told you my dad died, and shortly after that I closed the third restaurant that he had opened. It wasn't making it, and it threatened the whole company. And I had so badly wanted to make that work just for him, even though, he had passed, and just to make him proud of me, and wasn't able to. And so we worked a lot of outdoor festivals. I mean, we looked for stuff. We were like gypsies. Every weekend we were out there, and, if we had kids, they would have been running around in diapers, slinging tomato sauce. And we did so well at those, getting pizza into people's mouths, and that we thought we could do pizza by the slice in retail locations in the city. Well, retail locations in the city were busy right at noon and right at 6:30 at night, but other than that, they weren't. And we had kind of set ourselves up as sort of a fast food pizza by the slice operation. And our pizza is thick enough that it, in order to hold its best consistency, it needs to be sold quickly. And when we were selling it quickly, it was great. And when it was 3 PM and we hadn't had a customer for 20 minutes, it was an issue. And people didn't want to wait another 20 minutes for a slice of pizza. So we were wildly unsuccessful. And it was, we had poured a bunch of money into this experiment, and it did not go well. But I learned a lot from that. And, and I think that's the key that like you spoke to before, you make mistakes, you learn a lot about what you can and can't do. And, we've had a lot of opportunity to sell pizza by the slice at Wrigley Field, Major League ballparks, and different NBA venues. And I've always said, no, I've watched our competitors do it, and I see their product served kind of, in a mediocre fashion, lukewarm. It's never good in the middle, between the third and fourth quarter. Oh, yeah. It's pretty good at halftime. It's pretty good before the game, but it's not very good other than that. And there's, and someone else is handling your product, and they're selling it for, $7 a slice. And what chance do you have of someone coming in your restaurant after they've eaten a lukewarm, mediocre $7 a slice product at a ballpark? I don't think anybody's coming back. And so we just learned early that, pick your niche and be the best you can in that niche, and don't try to stretch it into too many other things. So important lesson for us.
But speaking of stretch, the one thing that I've really been impressed by, I have friends and people I work with that love Malnati's pizza, and for their birthdays, I'll send it to them in the mail. So, and that seems like something that I shouldn't say normal, but a lot of pizza places wouldn't do. And yet you're pretty successful at mail.
We are. My brother had the idea several years ago that, he saw our customers coming by and loading up our pizzas in dry ice and taking them on vacation with them, and bringing them to family around the country. And so we decided, hey, we'll do this. We'll get UPS, and we'll ship pizzas in dry ice, and we'll make them fresh and have them ready for people on holidays. And so we started doing it on holidays and had some success. And before you knew it, it became a year-round business. And now we have probably 60 people dedicated to this service. We're the largest shipper of pizza anywhere in the world. And we don't ship them anywhere in the world, but we're the largest shipper. And we ship across the United States. And yesterday we sent out 8,000 packages. And I think there'll be a day before Christmas where we'll send out about 20,000 packages. We send out millions of pizzas a year, along with other iconic Chicago specialties. And it's been Tastes of Chicago has become a big business for Malnati's. I just got the ad the other day. Lou, did I say 1-800-Lou to go, or LouMalnati.com? I'm not sure I mentioned that. Oh yeah. But best holiday gift ever, correct?
Oh, definitely. It's a family tradition. We get a half baked, and on Christmas we eat pizza. So throw it in the oven. It's the most amazing thing. And the kids, Kate's in the other room. She's going to be 29 and still, are we going to get stuffed spinach? And I'm like, of course, or deep dish spinach.
Well, I already like Kate, and I haven't met her, but I think this is a tradition that every SAE should follow.
Oh yeah. So
with Malnati's.
So any parting thoughts, Mark, that you want to share?
I think that I think that the relationships that you make early in your life, you know, often turn into some of the most amazing most amazing relationships that you have ever. And you know, I'm 65, and the chance to have known guys for 45 years now, and to know them on a level where not only have you known them all their life, but you know how they respond under pressure, and you know their buttons, and you know what to push and what to press, and how to have fun with one another, how to appreciate one another, how to love one another, and how to have how to tweak one another if you need to, and take advantage of those. Those are it's a special time.
That's awesome. Well, Marc, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I really do appreciate you. You didn't have to do it, and especially around the holidays. I know how busy you guys are, but thanks again for doing this. I really appreciate you.
Well, thanks, Steve. Thanks for having us on, and it's always fun to talk about old school.
So, as many of you know your IQ, but do you know your EQ? Perhaps, emotional intelligence is something that you never really considered, but as you can see, there's really a lot to learn and gain from understanding yourself and the people surrounding you. So maybe consider the people around you to be assets, believe in them, and push them to be the best that they can be. Don't you agree, Cody?
I absolutely do agree, Jeremy. I think Marc really emphasized that with us today in this show, and I think his experiences really kind of show like how far you can go, not just in your career, but just in life. So an overall like great learning episode today, I think overall, Jeremy.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Uh-huh.
All right. Do you want, before we get out of here, you want to share this month's trivia question for the folks?
Oh man, this is the one thing I always look forward to at the end of every episode, as I'm sure many of our listeners also look forward to. Am I right?
I hope so. I mean, this is why people should be listening, because when they listen and they hear the trivia question and then they tell us the answer via social media, they get something. And I mean, we don't make them pay for it. It is a giveaway. It is free. So let me emphasize that again. It is free. If you get the trivia question right, we will select someone and we will send you something. So, Jeremy, again, what is this month's trivia question?
All right, coming right up. So, as many of us might know, the 20s were a revolutionary time in American history. And I'm not talking about 2020 because we don't talk about that year. I'm talking about the 1920s during the era of The Great Gatsby, Walt Disney producing his first animated series, the first film with sound, but one major event turned the tides and all the fun and games. So in 1929, Black Tuesday occurred, where the stock market crashed, which unfortunately started Great Depression. But in all the obscurity in the country, there was one silver lining in SAE history. So here is this month's trivia question. Which major building significant to SAE first started construction in the very same year of 1929?
Ooh. All right. Do you want to give the listeners a hint?
No, I think this is one that is quite the thinker, and they really got to know their SAE history if they want to get it right.
All right. I like to see, you want to make the brothers try. I get it.
I do.
Totally get it. All right. Well, thank you again, Jeremy. Everyone, again, go follow us on social media, SAE 1856 on Twitter, Sigma Alpha Epsilon on Instagram, and we're on Facebook as well. Go follow us and reply to your answer to the trivia question in our DMs. Slide on in. You'll be replying to me, and let us know what you think the answer is. And if you're right, you might just get something from us. So, again, my name is Cody Delmendo.
And Jeremy Bellman.
Thank you again for tuning in. For more information about the SAE Foundation and its initiatives, go visit SAE.net. Stay tuned for more brand new episodes focusing on all things SAE and exciting interviews with notable alumni like Vincent Marcella, which is coming up here later this year. His professional project building LA's SoFi Stadium. Yes, that one you see whenever you fly into LAX.
Every time.
Every single time.
Mhm.
Yeah, that guy helped build that building. So you're not going to want to miss that. So yeah, thank you everyone for listening.